to another episode of Heavy Hitters. So I've been promising you our first girl on the show. I have a beautiful woman here tonight, you know, and when I say she's a beautiful woman, it's not just this. You know what I mean? Whoop, for those of you that speak sign language, but it's this too. So I only try and bring people that got it onto the show. You know, some of the reasons people love me is because I tell the truth. You know what I mean? Most of the reasons that people hate us is why?
Because we tell the truth.
You know, so that's how we try and live our lives today. We appreciate you being here. So I'm going to introduce my girl Brie here. So,
hey guys.
All right. So, Brie, you know, I was sitting at a meeting, and I've known you for some years now, and you've seen me both in addiction and out of addiction. You know what I mean? Sometimes I pull in addiction off just as well as I pull out of addiction off, you know. But that's what we do, and the only people we're lying to are ourselves, you know. Everyone else around us knows that we're fucking loaded, but we don't think anybody does. It's a beautiful thing. I see it all the time. I totally can appreciate where they're coming from. And today it hurts, though, because it's like we want more for, I can speak, I think, for both of us. Like, we want more for the individual than they want for themselves, right? I mean, we're part of a house that, you know, shuffles people in and out, and if they could only grasp on to the slightest inkling of what we're doing, they could probably have a whole lot better life, right? So, anyway, when did your addiction basically start?
I was about 11 years old, and growing up, my family didn't hide the alcohol. It wasn't locked away anywhere. It was, you know, out and about, on the table, with wine with dinner, just a normal household. And, you know, I've known from a very young age that I had some kind of ism. I always needed more attention, more love. 2 beverages at night before I went to bed, more books, like more of everything. And, you know, I took my first drink at 11 years old. I think it was the middle of 6th grade. And, you know, I wanted to fit in with the cool kids, and I wanted to be somebody, and I wanted to be popular, and, you know, that's how my disease started. I took that first drink, and, you know, I got that warm sensation within me, and I could, you know, I had that confidence, and I was witty, and guys hit on me, and I was...
At 11 years old?
Like 11, 12, like...
Can you guys picture it? She's running around in her Scooby-Doo pants and her little fucking braids on the side, and guys are hitting on you? What the hell's really going on?
Kids of our age.
I got you. So, yeah, I mean, so you're starting to drink at 11, you know, and so what's your poison?
Methamphetamines.
Also known as queer juice. So fortunately for her, she doesn't have to play that role. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like with what you said, it sent me off somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, wow, pictured you, cute little girl cruising around her fucking Scooby-Doo tights on and fucking little
gymnastic swear.
Whatever
it was, ballet.
A stuffed bra. Yeah. You know what I mean? For sure.
Whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Beautiful. So moving along. You start drinking, and you're 11, 12, so obviously then it hasn't progressed into bad behaviors yet. It's starting to, right?
Dropping out of school,
at what age?
Class. I would say like 12, 13. I was trying to find every reason to stay home so that I could, like, you know, steal my mom's cigarettes from the back porch, or, you know, get a little weed. And, you know, my mom had this... handle of Captain Morgan that she would like stash away for the holidays, and we would make jungle juice, and we'd mix like vodka, you know, Captain Morgan, like get a little buzz, like smoke a little weed, and you know, just kind of enjoy our day. And that continued, you know. So yeah, I found every reason to ditch school, or you know, get high on our little recesses. And again, I mean, I was sick, you know, from a very early age. You know, I had the ism within me. Like I believe I was born an addict alcoholic. That's not everyone's story. But I believe I had the ism from a very early age. So I was always seeking something and needed something within me to make me feel normal. And that continued, you know, every weekend. We'd find the cool parties, hang out with the cool kids. you know, it quickly progressed. You know, at 14, I met him, and he was
the first him.
The first him.
Aww.
Yeah. First him. And he was much older than I. I shouldn't have been hanging out with him, but you know, we made crazy decisions in our disease. And he introduced me to heroin, which was my first, like, I loved heroin. Like,
now, did you use it intravenously, or did you smoke it? Did you ingest it? How did you use it?
I used to mainly smoke it. I think I've tried shooting up a number of times, but everyone had, you know, like, everyone was worried about catching something, and one of our mutual friends had already had Hep C, and you know, I was afraid to take a bite of that fool's burger. You know, I didn't want to.
Just so you know, all of our friends have Hep C now.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing. Yeah,
right.
Much. Yeah.
So, all right. So I get it. You didn't want to bite off someone's burger, and you didn't want to use their needle. You didn't want to do this and that because the stigma was still sort of not sure what to do as far as an addiction. Plus, as kids, you know, I mean, that's why we have so many dying. One every 6 minutes we have a heroin addict die. Every 6 minutes, man. It's crazy.
It's an epidemic.
It's crazy. If you're hearing this, guys, please, like, seek help. Anyway, I don't mean to keep interrupting her. I'm just very passionate about the heroin addict that's dying out there. It's a senseless death. You know, it's a selfish, senseless death. So, Brie, go ahead, please.
So I met him. We both got strung out on heroin, and at this point I'm 14, 15 years old. I had somehow convinced my mom to get me into homeschool, so I could only go to school 2 days a week for an hour. It's pretty much to do your homework. Like, I just taught myself, basically. Had all the time in the world to get high, panhandle on the side of the road. I think I maybe got like one part-time job at one point, and you know, I was off and running, you know. I was doing my own thing, and...
So you're still with him at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, so he didn't try and make you do anything janky? Did you get drugs, like lure someone in, let's rob them, or anything?
Oh, always. Yeah, always. We were always getting into stuff, going down to Vermont and Clinton, you know, hanging out with the wrong people, you know, and incomprehensible demoralization continued to follow me. But, yeah, that heroin took me, and took me for about 4 years, and I remember my first love went to prison, and he wasn't getting out anytime soon. He's still in jail, still locked up, not leaving, and I still didn't think that there was anything wrong with the way that I chose to live my life. I was still able, at this point I was in cosmetology school, I was going to school, I was able to make little money doing this and that. I mean, I was panhandling, bumming change, stealing from people, but I didn't think that was a problem. You know, I just thought that's what everyone did, and you know, that we're learning, we're growing up, doing our own thing, and
as an attractive girl, it becomes a little easier for you. Everybody wants to please you because they think they're going to get something from you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we don't really live like that today, but like we've all sold ourselves some way, our morals, our integrity, our flesh. We've all done all the same bullshit, you know? So at this point, it's becoming a problem. Obviously, dude just went to prison for life, you said? Mm-hmm. So do you care just telling us what for? If you don't want to say, you don't have to say.
He was high on PCP and stabbed someone 27 times. And
a little anger issue there?
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, that's the one drug that I've honestly never tried, and I've never cared to. I used to watch CSI and shit and stuff, and I would see all these crazy episodes about PCP and people eating flesh, and I'm not into the cannibalism. I'm good.
It's my favorite!
Yeah.
It is.
So, yeah, he'll be there for a while, and you know, thank God my life took a different path, because that's scary shit.
But it hasn't taken a different path still yet. So you lost him, now you got to figure out what you're going to do to get your narcotics.
Yeah.
You know, I heard you saying something about you were homeless, and somebody was looking, you know your story, so I'm going to let you tell it, but,
okay.
You know, when did it get to that point? Mom and dad are sick of your shit. They're not fucking fronting up anything for you anymore, or you just don't want. You're sick of being hiding what you're doing at the house. Which one is it? A little bit of both.
Yeah, it's like all of the above. You know, my mom's been my rock through my whole recovery, and
thank God, Mom.
You know, I don't even know what I would do without her. But I mean, she was sick of me stealing money from her. You know, I was yeah, I was putting myself through hair school, but I was also like stripping at night and, you know, working at a number of different clubs around the valley and in Hollywood and, you know, pulling it off like I'm working at Saddle Ranch, and like she saw right through it, you know, she saw right through it. She could see the bags under my eyes, and I hadn't slept for weeks, and, you know, I didn't eat ever, and, you know, where's all my money going that I'm making, that I'm supposedly saving, and, you know, like my car's constantly breaking down, I'm not getting it fixed, I had the taped together hoopty forever, you know, and so when I was 18, me and my
So you were stripping before 18?
No, I had just turned 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I had a fake ID when I was 17, but I never utilized it. I was like, no, I'll just wait till I'm 18. You know, I don't want to go to jail. I mean, you can still go to jail when you're 18, but I just didn't want to get into all that.
For that lifestyle generally leads to a drug population.
Yeah.
Know,
so. Oh, yeah. That was a good one. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun.
So,
it was fun times.
Continue.
A lot of fun times, you know, in and out of strip clubs, and a lot of drugs, a lot of parties, you know, and me and my homegirl, we decided to, you know, I was just sick of hearing it, like, you got to change your life, you got to do this, you got to go to meetings, you got to do something, you got this Prop 36 you got to take care of, you got the cops showing up at the house. So you got arrested? Yeah, I had been arrested, you know, I was smoking weed in front of someone's house, you know, of course I was high on heroin too, but they didn't find any heroin. So you stashed that shit in your sandal or something, whatever. But I was smoking weed just during the daytime. It was like Christmas Eve, and went to jail. That was my first jail experience, and, you know, of course, my mom and stepdad had to pick me up.
11, 5, 15 under the influence, or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew,
yeah.
that was fun.
So you
possession.
Get court ordered to go to meetings. This is how you get introduced to the program?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, I had been, my homegirl Amanda, her mom used to take us to Alateen when we were like 13, 14 years old, and we used to go stoned and eat the brownies. And I was like, cool, these people are nice, you know, we got snacks, you know, they'll give us money, you know, if we say the right things, you know, we can manipulate anyone. Freaking masters of manipulation. So, continue to get high. Me and Amanda decide to get in the car and you know, be homeless. And we're just like, you know what, we're done with our family life. I'm done with being told what to do. I want to live my own life. Let's see how it goes. You know, and I had about $3,000 saved up. And you know, when you're 18, $3,000 seems like a lot. Like, you think you can get a lot for $3,000. And, you know, it maybe lasted a couple weeks, you know.
So you're saying it was the best decision of your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. You know, I was like, oh. Within a couple weeks, I was out of gas. You know, I was walking around in like a thong bikini, thinking I'm the shit, all freaking strung out, in Venice Beach on the boardwalk, you know, and Sundays, it's the big panhandling days, everyone walks around with signs, and it's popping, you got all the tourists, so we're making bank doing that. And then we decided to go on a road trip up north, and, you know, I'm still, like, I was never really, like, an everyday drinker. Like, once I found drugs, I kind of put the bottle aside. The bottle was always there. But now at this point, I couldn't afford heroin anymore. I couldn't afford to buy that OG Butter Kush or Velvet Kush or whatever the popular weed was at the time. So I was drinking Popov, you know, $2 little airplane bottles of vodka or whatever I could find, or that Cisco, and you know, still thinking like, okay, I can live off the land. I can do this. I'm going to be someone, you know, I want to be that 90-year-old on the porch smoking speed or drinking, you know. I just wanted to find my own way. I didn't want to conform to what society wanted for me. I wanted to find my own path. I was on a mission, and drugs were my mission at that point.
So hang on, you're taking a road trip up north. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that. How did that work out for you? Since it was like the second best decision of your life, it sounds like.
It was. You know, it was fun. We listened to the Beatles, like, the whole drive there, and I think I drove part of the way on ecstasy, so I'm really surprised. Like, we got to certain gas stations safely. You know, it got to a point where we were stopping at every gas station and having to bum money to, like, fill my tank up.
For sure.
You know, I was like, man, like, if I just had a job, you know, like, or, you know, it got overwhelming at some points, but I'm like, all right, I'm doing this. I'm not turning back, you know. I'm headed for it. Whatever God's got. You know, I always had faith. I've always had faith, which is weird. But even high on drugs, I had like this faith, like this greater sense of the world, you know. And I just thought that this was like what God wanted me to do at the time. So we're driving up north, and we're heading to San Francisco, Haight Ashbury, where all the hippies go, and we had picked up a couple people on the way, and they had guitars, and
he's got a guitar. Pull over.
Yeah, totally. They were cute.
Got a gas money, Dad?
They were cute.
Get in. You're hot.
Perfect. We can work the corner while they play their instruments. It's the perfect setup. They'll support our drug habit too, and this is all I feel like looking back, it was such a delusion. Like, how was that really gonna work? Like, these people were just getting in the car. Like, I didn't know if they were gonna rob us, rape us, whatever. You don't know what's gonna happen, but thank God they were decent people. So we get to San Francisco. It's 3 in the morning, and we end up sleeping at some park. And we got a bottle, and we stopped at McDonald's and just kind of got Sprite or whatever for a chaser. And we're like, all right, we're gonna start a new life here. Of course, the first thing we did in the morning, we found a heroin clinic, like a methadone clinic or something, and they had free clothing, so we were able to come in from Venice Beach. It's all hot and SoCal, and it was 8 degrees in San Francisco, and we're sleeping on the park under sleeping bags and getting rained on every night. It was just a totally different ball game. And so there's this hippie hill that we used to hang out with, and of course I found acid and mushrooms and all that good stuff once we got to the hippie hill and Golden Gate Park, so that was a good time for a while. Started to lose weight drastically. I wasn't eating at all. I was dry heaving every morning. I thought that was normal, It got to a point one night in this hotel, I met these guys, and they had these pit bulls, and they bought us a motel room, and I'm like, all right, cool, I'm going to make a quick $1 or $2, hanging out with these dudes in a motel room. There's more than one, so they'll, pay double for what, whatever they see. And I don't know what I smoked, if I got some bad dope or what, but I remember drinking this wine, and I couldn't figure out how to work the shower. And I'm looking at these guys, and they're contorting, and they're turning into these evil demons. And I remember just getting in my car, and I was drawing happy faces all over the car windows, the fogged up windows, just to maintain my level of happiness. Because I'm usually a happy drunk or a happy high. I don't really get bad highs, but I was just to the point where, my body, my liver was starting to shut down. I'm losing weight, and my brain wasn't all the way there. And that's kind of when I started to notice that I had a problem and I needed some help. The dry heaving was just enough. It was taking a toll on me in the morning.
So up to this point, it sounds like an okay time.
Yeah.
I mean, except, minus the weight loss, the liver, all that.
Yeah.
So did you ever run into any bad situations?
I had been...
Because, you mentioned strippers, so, with that comes jackasses. I just don't know. I don't know your whole story, So, and if you don't want to put stuff out there, that's fine. I understand that. Just keep in mind, we're being judged by some people who aren't even close to having their shit together. So don't trip.
I don't care. Judge me.
That. That's right.
I ain't got nothing to hide.
Rock that.
As for bad situations, being a young, naive girl who just wanted to get high and live the American dream, whatever that looked like at the time, I just wanted to make my own lessons. I've been held at gunpoint a number of times at 7-Elevens, in the Valley, in San Francisco, in Temecula, wherever I got high and wherever I was stealing, there was always consequences to my actions. I used to live in this pretty rugged area in San Bernardino, and one half of the block was white, the other half of the block was black, and there was always stuff cracking off in the middle of the night, and I was being accused of stealing something when I wasn't. I probably did it looking back, and I owe them an amends. But, at the time, I'm so in my disease, I don't know what I'm doing. I was so high, I don't even remember half the people I stole from or what I did. So yeah, I've been held at gunpoint a number of times. I've been raped and molested a couple times. I think the worst thing that ever happened to me, it's right before I kind of decided to get clean and get my stuff together. I was living in this office space on Sherman Way in Vineland, and I'm living with, a friend of a mutual friend, and So again, I was strung out on heroin for a number of years, and then I'm drinking, and then I come back from, being homeless in Venice and San Francisco, and get back to the valley. Of course, I find heroin right away. I'm strung out. He said my best solution was to do speed. So this is when, speed was introduced to me and became the second love of my life. So we're living in this office space, and we lived next to a weed dispensary, and I would go over there all the time, shoot the shit, whatever, hang out with the guys, and I just remember this one night, getting trained by 7 or 8 guys, and I didn't even, my face was completely normal. I didn't even know what was really going on. I'm smoking speed 10 and 2, and they're giving me money, and it's at least 7 or 8 guys, maybe more. The lights were off, they were turning the lights in and out, and I'm going in and out of consciousness because I'm also drunk, and it's yeah, I made money, but I also don't remember who those guys were, what their faces looked like, and there was no emotion behind that. When you're having sexual intercourse, any kind of pleasure, you're supposed to remember it, and it's supposed to be a good experience. You're not supposed to not remember it and not know who they were, and leave there and cool, I'm counting my money, that's how far gone my mind was. I didn't care about anyone or anything anymore. I just cared about how I was going to get my money, how I was going to get my next fix, and waking up in the morning and doing it all over again.
Guys, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to give Brie, she's getting a little flush. I'm getting a little choked up. So we're going to take a break for a second, and then we'll be right back, all right? You look a little flush.